to start our ceremony this afternoon. I am Superintendent Lyndon David, Divisional Commander, Division B, and this afternoon I will be your chairperson. Planning and executing an activity is very rewarding and exciting. However, the execution of the task involves money, time, perseverance, and competent workforce. Deputy Prime Minister Honorable Sean Richards, Parliamentary Representative for the area, Honorable Vincent Byron, Attorney General, Cabinet Secretary Mrs. Jonafield Huggins, Honorable Eugene Hamilton, His Excellency Ambassador Mr. Vance Amory in the Prime Minister's office, also Ambassador Jasmine Huggins. Hardly could recognize you under the mask. Sorry. Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of National Security, Mr. Osmond Petty, and other permanent secretaries. Chief Magistrate, His Honor, Mr. Renald Benjamin. Commissioner of Police, Mr. Hilroy Brandy. Commander of the St. Kitts and Nevis Defence Force, Mr. Anthony Cromwell. Acting Fire Chief, Mr. Garfield Hodge, Director of Public Works, Mr. George Gilbert, Chief Immigration Officer, Ms. Mercelyn Hughes, other senior police officers and customs officers, specially invited guests, media all, a pleasant good afternoon. It is indeed a pleasure to be given this task of chairing this afternoon proceedings. As we look around today, we are looking at a beautiful scenery of the ocean on my left, and we have the mountain, the greenery, on my right. And of course, this beautiful building that is on your right. As a young constable, I worked at the Sandy Point Police Station on Station Street. Along there was the Magistrate Court, Fire and Rescue, and at times we had the Customs Department as a result of the pier at Pump Bay. The operations sometime later moved just across the road on the same street. At that location, we had the same departments represented there. Some years later, we moved back across the street. So therefore, the old station was in the middle. The only operations that we didn't have there at the time was the customs, as frequent as it ought to be, but from time to time they came. Then, a few years later, the station moved to its current location on the same road. However, there was the absence of fire and rescue, which are now at New Guinea, the current location, and we had the magistrate court at Deep Bay Police Station. That was just a brief history of the movement of the operations for what we are now here for today. Today, we are now here to have our handing over and the official opening of the Sandy Point National Security and Judicial Complex. Ladies and gentlemen, I now ask you to stand as I call upon our first chaplain, Pastor Cumberbatch, to give the invocation.
Good afternoon, audience. As much as I don't like to say it, I would, in the interest of time, all protocols observed. Let us pray. Gracious Father in heaven, we thank you for the privilege of this momentous occasion, the commissioning of this multipurpose building, which you have graciously and faithfully entrusted to the government and people of this federation through the Ministry of National Security. We thank you for the vision, foresight of the government of our federation, and for the will and determination to execute the vision, planning and direction of this new building. We thank you for financing that made this possible, and for those who contributed, for the suppliers of all materials, appliances, fittings, and fixtures. We thank you for the contractor and all workers who labored in earnest to see this building to completion. Heavenly Father, we acknowledge the season that we are in when we celebrate the coming of your Son into the world to give light to a world in darkness, hope for the hopeless, and salvation for the human race. We pray your favor be continually with us during this ceremony to commemorate this tremendous achievement and the commissioning of this new edifice. We ask your grace be upon us and on the rest of the proceedings. These mercies we ask in Jesus' name. Amen. Thank you.
If you may remain standing. Kindly remain standing as we'll have the singing of the national anthem by Edward Williams, a member of the Sandy Point Explorers Club and an Explorer Cadet. Please welcome Mr. Williams.
O land of beauty, our country where peace abound, thy children stand free on the strength of will and love, with God in our struggles. St. Kitts and Nevis be a nation bound together with a common destiny. As stalwarts we stand for justice and liberty, with wisdom and truth. We will serve and honor thee. No sword, no spear can conquer, for God will sure defend. His blessing shall forever to posterity extend.
Thank you very much. Be seated, everyone. Lovely singing, lovely voice. We have to encourage our youth because they are our future leaders. And this exposure, I believe, that is very fitting for our young explorer and cadet. I made an omission earlier, and I asked Mr. Anthony Skeet of Skeet and Associates to forgive me for that omission. So I also want to include him in my order of precedence because he was our chief engineer, because without him, as it were, contractor, without him, our building would not have been here today. So we will have me correct myself with that. At this moment, I ask you to welcome Commissioner of Police, Mr. Hilary Brandy, as he come forward to give opening and welcome remarks. Commissioner Brandy.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Honorable Deputy Prime Minister, permit me to adopt the protocol that was ably established. Thank you, sir. Let me take a moment to thank all of you for being here to this opening ceremony this afternoon. For our brand new multi-purpose facility, this is indeed a special and a historical moment. It is indeed a distinct privilege to be afforded the opportunity to give brief remarks at this prestigious event. It is the book of Proverbs that clearly tells us, by wisdom is the house built, and by understanding it is established. It is in this spirit that my heart is overjoyed today. Today is indeed a dream realized for the government, national security, Royal St. Christopher Nevis Police Force, and our beloved Federation. This building was built to make the difference within the Western Corridor in the eyes of the public and in general and in history. We pledge to produce results that all of us will be proud of. We truly believe that the construction of this new building will usher in a new era of cooperation between community and the police. With the opening of this magnificent structure, we can boldly say today that you, the western part of St. Kitts, has been presented with the best Christmas gift ever. The Royal St. Christopher Nevis Police Force strongly believe in the creation of a loving, caring, and supportive environment. Thus, the need for this building. Let us not forget, the police station is usually the primary point of communication between the citizens and the police. Be rest assured that this building will be used to address the current and future public safety needs of this community. This building also helps to improve communication between our social partners, and it will dramatically increase the efficiency and the effectiveness and consolidated multi-location. This location will also effectively improve public access, and the numerous parking spaces are a welcome addition. This building clearly incorporates a safe and visitors-friendly design that is welcoming to our citizens. Of course, this building has been constructed with modern facility for our officers. In conclusion, I must thank the government once again for so wisely responding to the call to build this magnificent edifice so that we can greatly improve the service that we provide for our citizens in these areas. We want to see that the day when people say the virtual elimination of crime started with the construction of this amazing facility. To make this dream come true, we need to continue the support of everyone here and beyond. Thank you for all this great day, and we look forward to reduce crime in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Brandy. As I said earlier, the building is here to make a difference in the western side of the island of St. Kitts. We have seen where we have joint operations, and certainly they have reaped rewards, and we know that with this building, more space, indeed, we will continue to succeed in our efforts. At this time, we will have an instrumental by Fire Officer, Mr. Rommel Williams. Please welcome Mr. Rommel Williams. Thank you very much. You know, in the corner here, say, look, you have to give me a Kenny G. So, Rommel, one day we'll be looking out for a concert with you and the other persons in St. Kitts and Nevis who use instrument to please us. As we move down our program, at this point in time, we'll have the project overview by our architect of the Public Works Department, Ms. Jolene Tushi Davis. Welcome her to the podium.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, for your introduction. Good afternoon, everyone. Honorable Deputy Prime Minister, please allow me to adopt the protocol that was so ably established by Superintendent David as I present the project overview for the new Sandy Point National Security and Judicial Complex. The complex is a two-story concrete masonry structure with a footprint of 10,834 square feet and a total area of both floors of 21,668 square feet. The structure is designed as a multi-purpose complex to house police, fire and rescue, customs, and magistrate court. The original design had open decks around the perimeter of the upper floor. However, management of the police department requested that most of the spaces be covered and filled in with walls to provide additional interior spaces. Public Works Department was contacted by the Ministry of National Security back in 2015 and then again in 2017 to provide the concept design, the construction drawings, prepare and manage the tendering process and the supervision of the said structure. 8 bidders were invited to tender for the construction, but only 7 collected documents. These bids went out on August 21st of 2018, and they were to be returned on October 3rd, 2018. From the 7 that collected the documents, only 5 returned the completed package. The bids were opened the same day when submitted in the presence of contractors and or their representatives and other representatives of the Public Works Department. The documents were evaluated by the department and a recommendation was made. The main criteria used to evaluate the bids were the cost and construction time. It was therefore deemed that the bid submitted by Anthony Skeet of Skeet and Associates Limited was the most responsive and was accepted. This contract was awarded at a construction cost of EC $5,501,003.95. The Ministry of National Security, being the client ministry, requested that the Public Works Department, as project consultants, make all the necessary arrangements for the commencement of the project. A number of meetings were held with the stakeholders. Special features of this structure, that it houses the 4 government entities, as I said before, police, fire rescue, customs, and the magistrate court. A generator hut that houses an 86 kVA automatic changeover switch generator on my right here was constructed. 2 50 gallons and 1 100-gallon solar water heater and 2 1,000-gallon cisterns are installed on the roof. It also boasts accessible ramps for the differently abled persons, impact-resistant windows, spacious recreation rooms, communications office, and interview room, briefing rooms, and open decks. Every room has its own air conditioning unit. There are 2 kitchens, 2 laundry rooms for the police, and fire and rescue, respectively. I'll pause as we acknowledge the presence of the Prime Minister. These 2 entities have separate barrack areas and separate barracks for male and female officers. The spacious garage will be able to house 2 fire engines. There are over 30 parking spaces available for use by the public. The contract with Skeet and Associates Limited was signed on December 21st, 2018. The project was to be completed in 420 days or substantially completed on or before February 15th of 2020. Delays on this project were unavoidable. Work had paused due to the presence of the coronavirus, COVID-19, even though the Federation may have been shut down for about 6 weeks. Internationally, different parts of the world were experiencing their own periods of shutdown. This would have affected the manufacturing initially, and secondly, the shipping of products, as most companies were working on skeleton scarves. This would have caused the completion date of the project to be pushed back. A revised completion date was issued to the contractor for November 27, 2020. This revised deadline was not, however, met, as there was a delay in getting material out of Trinidad and Tobago that included tile grout and cement, electrical fixtures, and doors. In conclusion, the new Sandy Point National Security and Judicial Complex stands here in all its glory, the first of its kind in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. It was Louis Kahn who stated, and I quote, "A great building must begin with the immeasurable, must go through measurable means when it is being designed, and in the end must be unmeasured," end of quote. The Public Works Department is pleased to have been associated with this project. Special mention must be made of Ambassador Kevin Williams, who in his capacity as engineer at the Public Works Department then would have been involved in the project initially along with myself in meetings for the conceptualizations. Ms. Stacy Pemberton, architectural CAD technician for the development of the working drawings. Mr. Zeke Hazel, engineer. Ms. Nicole Body, clerk of works, and Mr. Valentine White, inspector of works. Strong support on this project was given from former director, Mr. Cromwell Williams, acting director, Mr. George Gilbert, acting chief engineer, Mr. Livingston Pemberton, and other support staff. We at the Public Works Department are extremely proud of the quality of the final product, and we are proud to have been associated with the project from inception to completion. Special thanks and recognition must go to Mr. Anthony Skeet of Skeet and Associates, the hard-working contractor, and his staff. Please stand to be recognized, Mr. Skeet, the staff. Mr. Skeet, it was a joy and pleasure working with you. To you, the end users, please, please, please take good care of this complex and enjoy. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Davis. Indeed, good plan and execution, and we have a rewarding and exciting end result. And as mentioned earlier, involves money, time, perseverance, and Mr. Skeet and his competent staff. Indeed, as was mentioned, COVID-19 continue to play its role, and we must continue to do our part where that is concerned. At this time, we will have brief statement by Acting Fire Chief, Mr. Garfield Hodge. Please welcome Mr. Garfield Hodge to the podium.
Good afternoon all. Kindly permit me to adopt the protocols that was so ably established by Superintendent David. However, I wish to acknowledge, of course, the presence of our Honorable Prime Minister, Dr. Timothy Harris. The Sandy Point Fire Station is centrally located in the Sandy Point Fire District, which spans from Franklin's east and Parsons Ground west. So responding from Sandy Point gives the responding fire unit the best chance of achieving the best possible response time. And this, of course, is critical to our mandate in saving life and property. In fact, in firefighting, 1 second less or more can spell the difference between life and death, or the salvation and destruction of property. Over the past 3 years, the Sandy Point Fire Station was temporarily located at New Guinea after being forced to relocate from Station Street, Sandy Point. The location did not provide the unit with the most efficient response mechanism, given that it is not centrally positioned in the district. However, being back in Sandy Point gives the unit the advantage of efficient emergency response. This brand new facility will give our officers an environment that is both comfortable and conducive to productivity. The Sandy Point Fire District is the second busiest district in the Federation, averaging 135 calls annually. Therefore, it deserves to be properly manned and equipped to meet the growing demands of our firefighting efforts here in this firefighting district. Sandy Point itself can be considered as a metropolitan having commercial and industrial development. To this end, a firefighting unit is essential to protect and safeguard not just life and property, but all other spheres of development, such as education, considering the various schools within the district, tourism, the Brimstone Hill Fortress National Park, commercial development, the various supermarkets and restaurants and bars, industrial development, Howard Sover Manufacturing Company, and most importantly, residential development. Sandy Point houses a large number of houses that are homes to thousands of visitors and residents. The wider section of the district gives way to tourism development. Recently, we witnessed the opening of the Ramada Hotel. This hotel is located in an area that is very prone to wildfires. Hence, our firefighting efforts must be enhanced to protect and mitigate against the negative impact of fire on our tourism product in this Sandy Point firefighting district. Our presence as a firefighting unit is critical to the livelihood in the firefighting district of Sandy Point. Our service is not just limited to fire extinguishment, but more importantly, it also encompasses fire prevention. And accordingly, our unit is charged with engaging various establishments and institutions within the Sandy Point district on matters pertaining to fire prevention in the workplace and at the home. This is of paramount importance because the best method of firefighting is fire prevention. In so doing, we would have prevented countless destruction from the ravages of fire. On behalf of the entire St. Kitts Nevis Fire and Rescue Services, I wish to say thank you to the Ministry of National Security and the federal government for comfortably housing us in this brand new state-of-the-art national security and judicial complex. I assure you, it will be utilized in a manner that would see returns on this huge and all-important investment. We look forward to working with our colleagues representing all entities that will be sharing occupancy. May God bless us all, and I thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Acting Fire Chief, Mr. Garfield Hodge. As we had the arrival of our Prime Minister, I will officially invoke the Prime Minister to our order of precedence. Honorable Prime Minister, welcome. Indeed, as mentioned by Acting Fire Chief, the area is the second busiest, and indeed, this location will ensure that maneuvering to and from the station and to the various sites much easier. I do think so. I do think so. And indeed, we have to look at the expansion of the development in the area and also the height at which these buildings are now being built, and ensure that we have the necessary equipment to get up and down, if needs be, Mr. Hodge. As we move on our program, there is a correction. We will not have the selection by Superintendent Mills for various reasons that beyond her control somewhat. So we will now move on to our Attorney General, the Honorable Vincent Byron Jr. Please welcome our Attorney General. Sorry, sir. There's an error. Must apologize for that, sir. We now have Assistant Comptroller of Customs, Mr. Desroy Daniel. Please welcome Mr. Desroy Daniel from the Customs and Excise Department.
Good afternoon, everyone. Honorable Prime Minister, Dr. Timothy Harris, Deputy Prime Minister, Honorable Sean Richards. Please allow me to adopt the protocol that was so ably established. On behalf of the management and staff of the Customs and Excise Department, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. The staff of the Customs and Excise Department, we bring you special greetings. Indeed, it is an honor and privilege as a true Sandy Pointer and also a customs officer to be standing here before you today to deliver brief remarks on such a memorable occasion. The Customs and Excise Department was established in the year 1958. Since such time, the organization has grown significantly over the years into a modernized and resourceful department. Sandy Point, Pump Bay area has long been a designated port of entry to conduct business as it relates to cross-border movement of goods and persons. I understand that in the years leading up to 1958, our main manufactured product was sugar, and it was once exported via ships in the Pump Bay area. For those of you who don't know where the Pump Bay area is, it's along this area here. In those days, sugar was king. So obviously, Sandy Point was king. I also remember as a young boy growing up, witnessing a pier in that area that used to service foreign vessels. I can also recall, as a young enforcement officer in the customs, under the supervision of stalwarts like Donald Cable, Terry Adams, Rodney Harris, attending to vessels arriving from Statia, jumping onto some of those vessels, collecting customs duties, conducting searches, and stakeout operations, which are all very risky operations, but it's all a part of the job. Today, as we gather to celebrate the opening of this prestigious complex, we cannot overestimate the importance of this facility. This is a significant milestone for law enforcement, and the Customs and Excise Department recognizes this. Customs, being the primary agency that is responsible for border security, will provide the resources to fulfill its obligation of the smuggling of goods and the illegal trafficking of drugs and firearms in this area. The Federation remains continuously at risk due to our porous borders. This is most evident in the rural areas where the open bays are in such close proximity to all the residents. Like our law enforcement colleagues, we continue to stress that it is everybody's business to report to the authorities when you see something wrong, because we cannot do it by ourselves. We are also in the process of deploying maritime assets along with able crew members in the Marina Telca facility. The Customs and Excise Department have always had a close relationship with the police, defense force, and other law enforcement agencies. Equally important, we look forward to working together with the Royal St. Kitts and Nevis Police Force and all other law enforcement agencies that will be housed in this complex. Once again, the Customs and Excise Department is elated to share this historic event and stand committed to our bold mission to serve our citizens, collect, protect all of our revenues with fairness, efficiency, integrity, and enforce all compliance laws at our borders. Once again, we say thank you to the government for providing this vision, and we say thank you.
Thank you, Assistant Comptroller of Customs, Mr. Desroy Daniel. Indeed, it is everyone's responsibility to be a part of the national security mechanism. Report, 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 and we will see the results that we all are looking for in terms of the protection of our beautiful federation. As we move down the program, now it's time. It's my pleasure to welcome our Attorney General, the Honorable Vincent Byron, Jr. Welcome our Attorney General to the podium.
Thank you very much, Master of Ceremonies, Superintendent Lyndon David. And I too would want to adopt the protocol that has been established, save to recognize and welcome our Honorable Prime Minister, Dr. Timothy Harris, my cabinet colleagues, the Deputy Prime Minister, the Honorable Sean Richards, and the Honorable Eugene Hamilton, and also the fulcrum around which the cabinet revolves, our cabinet secretary, Mrs. Josephine Huggins. I'll also want to recognize with us Senior Magistrate Acting, Mr. Renald Benjamin, who is here. I think Magistrate Hill Hector may be here as well. I would want to recognize Permanent Secretaries, Miss Diana Francis, who is the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Justice and Legal Affairs, and of course the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of National Security, and any other Permanent Secretaries are here. I should not overlook the members of the Diplomatic Corps that are here, His Excellency Ambassador Mr. Vance Amory, and Ambassador Her Excellency Mrs. Jasmine Huggins, who is here with us as well. I would also want to recognize, of course, the Chief of Police, Commissioner of Police, Mr. Elroy Brandy, and Commander Camry of the Defense Force. And I could tell you they're having a joke between themselves, because they're timing how long the AG is going to talk. And I don't want to disappoint them. By being short. It's an extreme pleasure, a very important pleasure to be here today to share in the opening, the convening of this very impressive complex. It is dubbed the Sandy Point National Security and Judicial Complex, and that term refers to the different components of the complex. Of course, we have it's a police station. It's also going to be a fire station, and also going to be the headquarters of the Customs and Excise in this part of St. Kitts and Nevis. But an important feature that is here in this complex is the Magistrates Court for District B. And as Minister of Justice and Legal Affairs, it behooves me to speak about the question of the Magistrates Court here. What this complex is for St. Kitts and Nevis, is to show that we as a people are committed to a good governance agenda that's based on law and order, and more importantly, or just as importantly, the rule of law. The rule of law. The administration of justice is critical to us in this country. Whatever we do, whether it's going to be any economic activity, whether it's going to be social life and social involvement, we believe in the rules by which we live, the laws by which we govern. And I want to very briefly refer to something that I've been referring to over the last couple of weeks. It's something that I've come across recently. It's a saying by the Roman senator. He was a lawyer, he was a writer, orator, Cicero, Marcus Tullius Cicero. And he was saying, we are all servants of the laws so that we can be free. We like to be free, operate in liberty. As a matter of fact, our national anthem starts, the second verse starts, as stalwarts, we stand for justice and liberty, freedom. Justice and liberty are critical to what we do. And so when we have a police station here in the western part of the country, it is where our police officers, as has been said, the first line of communication with the average citizen can come when they have a complaint, when they seek justice for law and order, but also as well, this is where you get your claims, your disputes settled in terms of a magistrate's court. And I don't want to be long, but it's important that I speak a little bit more about this rule of law. We believe in laws in St. Kitts and Nevis. We believe in the police. We have to adhere to the laws of the country, and we follow them. And the law is for everyone, for everyone. When we speak of the rule of law, this is something I came across the other day. Because when we speak of the rule of law, the government and officials, agents, are all accountable under the law. The laws that we make in Parliament, and we just had a very exciting and interesting budget debate, laws are clear, they're publicized, you should all know them, stable, fair, and protect fundamental rights, including the security of person, your individual's person, and your property rights. When we speak of the rule of law, we speak about that process by which the laws are enacted when we go to Parliament, and we do so properly. Opposition has a chance to speak and to comment on the laws, as does the government side, to represent the people. And so that's what we mean by the rule of law. And finally, that they have access to justice. And this is provided by competent adjudicators, competent, ethical, and independent officers, attorneys at law, representatives, and judicial officers who are sufficient in number and have adequate resources and reflect the communities in which they serve. So that when we come here this afternoon, we have a national security complex where the police will be here. It replaces, of course, the long-standing police station that had been, I think it was in Downing Street, or further along the way, in Sandy Point, that had fallen into disuse. But we're here today to have this brand new edifice, this brand new building, where the police can respond to calls from citizens who are in distress, who can come and support. And Commissioner Brandy made the point of how we have to work closer with the community. Community policing is a big drive for a lot of the police. It is also going to be a station for fire, that you don't have to come from Bastia to respond to fire. But here, you'd have your own locale to call on your fire to respond to anything that's happening, and of course customs. But it is the magistrates' court that we have here that is just as important. There are 3 districts for the summary court, the magistrates' court in our country. District A and District B in St. Kitts, and District C in Nevis. District A is Bastia and its environs. And you would have heard recently, last week to be exact, where in Bastia we opened a 3rd magistrates' court chamber to help to give greater access to justice for people in that area. Today we open a 2nd magistrates' court in District B here in Sandy Point, because there is a magistrates' court in the Ebe. And the area that District B serves, I must say, is quite significant. It comes all the way from Boyd's that way as far as that, and it goes all the way around to Lodge. And so people in the country who have to get to magistrates' court, they don't have to go to Bastia. They can be served to appear in the magistrates' court in District B. So if you had to go to the Ebe, it was quite inconvenient if you're coming from Old Road. It could be quite inconvenient to have to come from Molyneux to Sandy Point. And so as we go forward, we now have 2 locations. On some days, I think it's 3 days a week, we'll meet in Sandy Point, and 2 days we'll still maintain the magistrates' court in the Ebe to be able to give greater access to justice so that people can get their day in court and have their matters resolved and heard. So I just wanted to emphasize this concept of access to justice, the need that we now have a 2nd magistrates' court chamber in District B, following our recent improvement in terms of adding a 3rd chamber in Bastia. We are very happy and proud to be able to do so for you. I just want to say that when it comes to the magistrates' court, just like with the police, the magistrates' court is perhaps that institution that comes into greatest contact with the people. Thousands of people pass through the doors of the magistrates' court every year for all sorts of things. Simple bad word, yes, but more serious matter. People owe rent, they have arrears, maintenance, child maintenance, some of it's criminal matters. But the summary court is a critical institution in our society, and we rely on it to maintain that rule of law, to be able to get our people to be free. We have these laws, servants of the laws, so that we can be free, so that we can live where no one can dictate to you other than what the law provides for. And so I want to welcome, to say that the Government of National Unity under which we serve has done an excellent job in terms of our commitment to the rule of law, a commitment to provide a proper administration of justice, to grant access to justice for all our citizens. And back to our old manifesto, that Team Unity believes in the concept of good governance in which we can all live. So thank you very much, and I wish this opening the best. Thank you.
Thank you, Attorney General, Honorable Vincent Byron, Jr. Indeed, access to justice is necessary in any democratic society. And our Attorney General has indeed let us know that there is no one exempted from accessing the courts. And also the police also the Fire and Rescue Department, and the Customs and Excise Department whenever the need arises. So thank you very much, AG, Attorney General. I will now call upon Chief of Immigration, Ms. Mercelyn Hughes, to give the selection that Superintendent Diana Mills was to present. Let us welcome our Chief Immigration Officer, Ms. Mercelyn Hughes, to the podium. You know, we call them the twins singing in the police.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to do a song that I hope you would enjoy. At this time, we're talking about the faithfulness of who God is, and for this occasion that we're here. And so I'm just going to do that song, Great is Thy Faithfulness. Great is Thy faithfulness, O God, my Father, for there is no shadow of turning with Thee. Thou changest not, Thy compassions, they fail not. As Thou hast been, Thou forever will be. For great is Thy faithfulness, great is Thy faithfulness. Morning by morning, new mercies I see, and all I have needed, Thy hands have provided. For great is Thy faithfulness, Lord, unto me. Summer and winter, springtime and harvest, sun, moon, and stars in their courses above, join with all nature in manifold witness to Thy great faithfulness, mercy, and love. Oh, great is Thy faithfulness, great is Thy faithfulness. Morning by morning, new mercies I see, and all I have needed, Thy hands have provided. For great is Thy faithfulness, Lord, unto me. Pardon for sin and a peace that endureth, Thine own dear presence to cheer and to guide, strength for today and bright hope for tomorrow. Blessings all mine with 10,000 beside, for great is Thy faithfulness, great is Thy faithfulness. Morning by morning, new mercies I see, and all I have needed, Thy hands have provided. For great is Thy faithfulness,
Thank you very much, our Chief Immigration Officer, Ms. Hughes. You did justice. And indeed, we all have to put our trust in God, because in Him all things are possible, and that's why we're here today. Almost like I was about to say a sermon there, boy, but at this time, we'll have a poem, Keep On Smiling, by Lamani and Ayamani and Silmani Woods Supasad of the Sandy Point Explorers Club. Bid welcome to these youngsters as they enlighten us with this poem.
Keep on smiling. If at times you feel you want to cry and life seems such a trail, above the clouds there's a bright blue sky, so make your tears a smile. As you travel on life's way with its many ups and downs, remember, it's quite true to say one smile is worth a dozen frowns. Among the world's expensive things, a smile is very cheap. And when you give a smile away, you get one back to keep. Happiness comes at time to all, but sadness comes unbidden, and sometimes a few tears must fall among the laughter hidden. So when friends have sadness on their face and trouble round them peeled, the world will seem a better place, and because you smiled.
Thank you very much. Now, I can see some of you smile, but you cannot see me smile. Well, all right. It's good that we have our children come before us to make us smile, make us happy, realizing that life is not all about heartache and pain, but a little laughter is good for the spirit, you know, make us feel good. Thank you very much, Ayamani and Silmani Woods Passad of the Sandy Point Explorers Club. You will be inspiring our other young persons to come forward at forums like these to say certain things that they have to say regarding the goodness of life. At this point in time, we will have remarks by our Deputy Prime Minister, Parliamentary Representative, Honorable Sean Richards. Please welcome the Honorable Sean Richards to the podium as he gives his presentation.
Thank you, Chairman Superintendent Lyndon David. Prime Minister and Minister of National Security, Dr. the Honorable Timothy Harris, Attorney General, the Honorable Vincent Byron, Minister of Housing et al., the Honorable Eugene Hamilton, Cabinet Secretary, Mrs. Josephine Huggins, Chief Magistrate, His Honor, Mr. Benjamin, Permanent Secretaries, Mr. Osmond Petty, Mr. Darrell Lloyd, Mrs. Jasmine Warner Weeks, and Ms. Diane Francis, Commissioner of Police, Mr. Hilroy Brandy, and other senior officers, Commander Crumry of the Defense Force, Acting Fire Chief, Mr. Hodge, Chief Immigration Officer, Ms. Hughes, Director of the Land Registry, Ms. Myers, Acting Director of Public Works, Mr. Gilbert, Mr. Desroy Daniel, Assistant Controller of Customs, Force Chaplain, Mr. Cumberbatch, specially invited guest, of course, our contractor, Mr. Skeet, and Mrs. Skeet, my fellow constituents from the beautiful town of Sandy Point, ladies and gentlemen, media personnel, good afternoon to all soon. As the parliamentary representative for this beautiful and historic town, I must start by welcoming everyone to this beloved community that I hold very dear to my heart and that I have the honor of serving as the parliamentary representative. Today, we gather here for this highly anticipated event, the commissioning of the Sandy Point National Security and Judicial Complex. While this may be just another ceremony for some, for me, it is a ceremony that has made me overwhelmed with pride to see the fulfillment of this long-awaited national security and judicial complex. I think only a real Sandy Pointer can truly understand how very special this occasion is for me individually and for us as a community of proud people. Let me help you to fractionally understand why for me and for many Sandy Pointers, today is an emotionally fulfilling day. May I remind you that for several years, I was the lone voice in the wilderness crying out on behalf of the good people of Sandy Point for adequate police and fire and rescue services in our beloved town. His Excellency Vance Imrie might actually remember because he would have been on the opposition bench with me from the year 2004. And the Honorable Prime Minister, who was then a member on the government side, would also recall the many times I would have advocated for this complex. It really was disheartening and demeaning to the law enforcement officers who worked in the Sandy Point Police and Fire Services facilities in the 20 years leading up to 2015. It was also psychologically demoralizing and I dare say disrespectful to and inconsiderate of the people of St. Anne's Parish to have less than adequate enforcement facilities. Each year, when, as parliamentary representative, I issued the clarion call for better police complex in Sandy Point, I hoped in earnest that the government of the day was not ignoring my call because they were punishing the people of Sandy Point for sticking with me and remaining faithful to the People's Action Movement candidate. As we all know, Pam has always been better for the people of Sandy Point. How many of you would recall my many years sitting in Parliament on the opposition bench, but advocating for better for the people of Sandy Point? For my community, therefore, the pride we feel today emanates from our belief that we are now receiving the respect and the type of amenities we deserve in the completion and the commissioning of this Sandy Point national security and judicial complex. I can tell you that as the parliamentary representative for this community of brilliant, hard-working, distinguished, creative, dynamic, and resilient people, I am held very accountable for this town. You can imagine the many times that the state of the Sandy Point Police Station emerged as an important matter in my consultations and in conversations with my constituents. It became a talk on several talk shows and also on social media. Thus, one of my campaign deliverables was the construction of a new complex to house a police station, fire services, and magistrate court for this community. And as the good people of Sandy Point know, Sean is not into gimmicks and tricks. Sean Richards promised a brand new police station and fire station accommodations for the magistrates court, and today Sean Richards, with the support of this competent government, is delivering it. Promise made, promise kept. I must therefore pause here to thank my beloved people of constituency number 5 for your patience as we waited for the completion of this facility. COVID-19 interrupted the progress of the work as we went into lockdowns, etc. But today, the complex, or as some would say, the brand new police station is here. To constituency number 5, with utmost gratitude, I say thank you for your faithfulness, your understanding, and your patience. The attainment of this goal also needed the support of the Prime Minister, who is the Minister of Finance and National Security. Mr. Prime Minister, I thank you for your shared vision of improving police facilities in Sandy Point and other communities. This facility has been long in coming, but certainly it is worth the wait. Ladies and gentlemen, as a certified public accountant, I am very much concerned about accountability, fiscal prudence, and effective financial management. This is another reason why I still consider it incomprehensible and totally steeping in fiscal mismanagement for the former government to ignore the need for a new police station complex in Sandy Point. Worse yet, they continued to pay substantial amounts monthly for the rental of a building to house the Sandy Point police station. The station was moved some twice since the old building was abandoned. When Superintendent David gave his opening remarks, he mentioned the fact that he worked at the Sandy Point police station initially. Well, I myself, I didn't work there, but I grew up in Downing Street, and so the police station, it was actually right at the top of Downing Street. Mr. Officer Dickinson is shaking his head because he also grew up in Downing Street. So he has those memories of the old police station at the top of Downing Street. Of course, the police station became dilapidated and has been moved some twice since then. As a matter of fact, the first time it was moved, it would have housed the magistrates court, it would have housed fire services. But then, as you heard, the magistrate court had to be moved to Deep Bay because you had an issue with mold in that particular building. And then subsequently, the fire station was moved to the outskirts of Sandy Point, and the police station was moved a little further down the road. So it is almost 30 years since the Sandy Point police station has not been in a space owned by the government. That is why today's opening ceremony is another of this government's trust to not repeat the grave fiscal mistakes of the former administration. Today's opening ceremony is another action that demonstrates to our law enforcement officials and the community that this government is serious beyond talk about community development, law enforcement and police morale. As you are aware of the plight that police serving in the Sandy Point station endured, and are you aware of the plight that police officers serving in the Sandy Point station endured under the previous Minister of National Security? The police shared that the buildings where they were accommodated on Station Street was rife with health and environmental challenges. The place was deplorable. Rats and termites rivaled the officers within the building. Black mold was uncovered in the magistrate's court area, and there was inadequate space and privacy for male and female officers. In this exquisite edifice that is being opened today, our government, your government, is remedying all of those problems and more. This multifaceted building includes the police station, the fire and rescue services, a magistrate's court, and space for customs. The building is clean, it is spacious, and well laid out, allowing for privacy not only for the officers in their quarters or for residents reporting matters, but it also offers space for lawyers and their clients to converse in privacy when they come to the magistrate court. This complex therefore signals many important messages to the people who have been working in the Sandy Point Police Station and the Sandy Point Fire and Rescue Services, and to the people who are served at these facilities. The new Sandy Point National Security and Judicial Complex means no more should there be disjointed and delayed responses by the police and the fire and rescue services in this area of the island. No more will the privacy of the male and female officers be compromised in their quarters. No more will lawyers and their clients have to conference outside under a tree in order to gain privacy. No more will persons from this side of the island have to journey to Bastille to access some custom services, and no more will Sandy Point be without magistrate court facilities. No more, no more. Instead, better has been returned to Sandy Point. You may clap. As one veteran fearless Sandy Pointer correctly asserted, this complex was envisaged before the Labour administration took over in 1995, and it has taken a generation for it to become a reality. But the timing is ideal. Sandy Point is developing nicely again, and this new police station is an integral part of the urbanization of the town of Sandy Point. As a matter of fact, the land area that you're seeing just across from the police station has been designated for commercial purposes, and a number of businesses have already been able to acquire land. So that very shortly we're expecting to see a business expansion right in this area. Some of you may have heard of the opening of the Layamiga Housing Development Project in Cayenne very recently. The next phase of that project is supposed to be in Sandy Point, and it's not too far from here, encompassing some of the lands in the La Valley area. Therefore, for those from the Sandy Point area who are perhaps looking for the next place to invest in businesses, etc., and looking for the comfort and security of police officers, fire services, services to be offered by customs, and hopefully you don't have to go to the magistrate court because someone isn't paying you, but perhaps you may need services such as a liquor license. At least the magistrate court will be located in close vicinity to your business. Therefore, on this note, I want to urge all who will work in this building, those who will visit it, and the entire community and surrounding communities to not only take pride in this building, but also make a commitment to do nothing to deface, disfigure, or abuse this building. Instead, make a commitment to always take actions that promote its cleanliness and general upkeep. This building is, in essence, a community partnership. Before I close, I must say heartiest thanks and congratulations to all who worked on this contemporary design with its striking aesthetics. Firstly, thanks to the architects from within the Public Works Department of the Ministry of Public Infrastructure, the ministry that I am very proud to lead at this point in time. Thank you for a visually appealing designed building that fits beautifully within the community. I now look forward to the imminent expansion in this area as our town continues to develop. Secondly, thanks to the contractor, Skeets and Associates, for so ably executing and actualizing the plan. On many different occasions, I would have visited the site while under construction. Mr. Skeet was always very accommodating. On several occasions, he would have provided me with a walkthrough of the building. He explained what was happening. Even as changes were being made to the facility, he always took time out to visit the facility. At morning, sometimes he would pass me as I coming out to go to work, and he would say to me, a long time now, you haven't visited, and you need to come and visit and see what is happening with this facility. Again, Mr. Skeet, thanks for your dedication to this project. I think we would all agree that you have done an excellent job on behalf of the government and on behalf of the people of Sandy Point. Thirdly, I also wish to highlight a number of persons from the Sandy Point community who are a part of the skilled and unskilled laborers who toiled here. These persons include individuals like Otik Gillard, Denzel Stevens, Elvin Mills, Chavez Nital, Rais Warner, Dale Morishaw, Charlene Madhouse Warner, who I see on the side, Latanya Deming, Jerome Henderson, Jabari French, and Leverton Moore, who all work on this project as helpers. Others, such as Anasia Woodley, Clive Morgan, Keith Roy Versailles, and David Gums served as masons. Evington Farrell and Alex Edinburgh both provided carpentry service. Fourthly, and by no means least, tremendous thank you to Mr. Leander Harris, who worked faithfully as the watchman. If you came around here outside of working hours, Mr. Harris monitored you and outlined the limits of your observations. He guarded here like his most prized possession. Thank you to all of them. It indeed pleases me greatly that so many workmen of this town not only secured employment, but also contributed significantly to the completion of this structure. And again, I must thank Mr. Skeet, because when he and I spoke, he gave a commitment that he would hire persons from the Sandy Point community to be part of the construction of the police station, and indeed, he kept his word. This is another reason why I assert that the completion of this Sandy Point police station is a community partnership, and we must all ensure the overall upkeep and longevity of the police station. Today, I trust that this new facility will usher in an even better relationship between our law enforcement officers and the residents of this beautiful town. Today, as we open the doors of this new facility, it signals the government's strategic commitment not only to law and order, but also to the people of Sandy Point and to the surrounding communities that this complex will serve. May this facility be a symbol of peace, tranquility, and further development that we hope will reign in the town of Sandy Point. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Deputy Prime Minister Honorable Son Richards. Yes, indeed, when structures like these are completed, having put in all the hard work, money and support and concentration, that we should feel pride in what we have accomplished. And also too is that it is important that for such a lengthy period that we needed, when I said we, I mean all the institutions that will be housed here, because didn't have our own home. We are now having it. So we want to thank all who were instrumental in ensuring that we have that today. And again, we will ensure that we take care of it. And the persons who visit us from time to time for varying reasons, that they too will play their part in taking care of this building. At this point in time, we'll have a steel pan selection. It says still, by teacher of Charles E. Mills Secondary School, Mr. Dejan Francis. Dejan Francis. Okay. As we look at the situation that the Honorable Attorney General mentioned, when we're at the court, we call the name 3 times. The last call, no appearance, you know what that means. So therefore, Dejan Francis, no appearance. Well, the time has come where we have our featured speaker, our Prime Minister, Dr. the Honorable Timothy Harris, Prime Minister, Minister of National Security, Minister of Finance et al. Please welcome our Prime Minister to the podium to give his remarks.
Thank you very much, Mr. Master of Ceremonies, and allow me, of course, to adopt the protocol so ably and repeatedly laid before me. I must, however, recognize the presence of the members of Cabinet and, of course, thank them all for coming out on this special day to celebrate with our security officials and, of course, residents of District B, and in particular, those from Sandy Point at this historic opening. I want to recognize our Deputy Prime Minister, the Honorable Sean Richards, and you've recognized that he is very pleased today to see the result of his long advocacy for this particular facility. I recognize the Honorable Eugene Hamilton. I recognize the Honorable Vincent Byron, and of course, our Cabinet Secretary, Excellencies of the Diplomatic Corps. I want especially to mention my good friend and former Senior Minister, Ambassador Vance Amory, who traveled across waters to be here. Give him a special hand of welcome. I want to especially say welcome back home to our Ambassador to the Republic of China, Taiwan, Her Excellency Jasmine Huggins, and thank her for being here with us. Permanent Secretaries, we have quite a few. Our Permanent Secretary in National Security, Mr. Osmond Petty, our Permanent Secretary in Legal Affairs, Ms. Francis, our Permanent Secretary in Public Infrastructure, Mr. Lloyd, and is there another? And we have our permanent secretary in the Ministry of International Trade and Commerce, Mrs. Jasmine Weeks. I want, of course, to recognize those from the judiciary, and in particular, our senior magistrate. I think today is a really important one. In fact, I should say it is an historic day for law and order in our federation. For today, in the historic town of Sandy Point, in the parish of St. Anne's, we make history again by the official opening of the Sandy Point National Security and Judicial Complex, the first in our federation. Yes, go ahead. It houses the Sandy Point Police Station, our Fire and Rescue Services Unit, our Customs and Excise Department outposts, and of course, the Magistrate Court in District B. Indeed, District B now has really 2 magistrate courts located in Sandy Point and in Deep Bay. The first 3 service institutions are engaged in law enforcement, the police in the investigation of crime, their containment and reduction, and indeed bringing criminals to justice through the efficiency and excellence of their work. The fire and rescue services to protect us, our persons, our property from harm, and to rescue us if necessary when needed. Our Customs and Excise Department involving border control, revenue collection, and the containment in particular of transboundary crime. All 3 are critical in our efforts at law and order. Our magistrate court to deliver justice, justice always in a timely manner, justice with a sense of fairness, justice with feelings, justice for vote, the winner if there is, and the loser in the cases. For ultimately, that is what justice is about, bringing a sense of calm in society, that an unjust act could be corrected, and reasonable judgment delivered that brings me peace and makes the society overall better for that. All these 4 institutions are critical to the quality of life of our people in St. Kitts and Nevis, and of course critical to the quality of life everywhere. All 4 play a critical role in the build-out of a living democracy of which or in which our people can feel safe and secure and free to be the best that they can be. It is therefore a special honor and a privilege for me to come to be part of this historic event and to declare these 4 facilities open. Since the election of our Team Unity government in 2015, and even more so since 2020, one of our core priorities has been to keep our people, our community, our streets safe. That meant having regard to the inheritance of lawlessness, that we had to reduce crime, keep our people safe, enhance the quality of life of all people. And we are doing so today by the opening of this beautiful complex, we are creating a wonderful history. And it brings me to an important theme, which the Honorable Attorney General so often harps back to and must continue to champion. What was Team Unity about? What did Team Unity mean? Not to us, the politicians, but importantly to those who matter, the ordinary people in Bastia, in the rural parts, in the suburbs, in the rich areas, in the so-called poverty-stricken areas, in the ghettos, in the hills, to those who were farmers and fishers, teachers and police officers. What did Team Unity represent? What did you want that Team Unity could do different? Being an attorney, the Attorney General likes to wrap this up in the context of law and order, in the context of a team popularized by some, good governance. Good governance. With all the complexity of the phraseology of good governance, we could put it simply. Good governance means a good quality of life for all the people. And when in 2015 you gave Team Unity the chance, you were not thinking the highfalutin sound of good governance, importance as it is as a construct for governing and governance. You were thinking that you want a better quality of life. For the mothers who were losing their sons to crime, to those who were going on the strip to have a good time, and to hear it being interrupted by the rat-a-tat-tat bullet shots here. They wanted something better and different. And they wanted a government whose policies were empowering and release the potential for freedom in St. Kitts and Nevis. I am pleased to have been part of that process, of the creation of this idea of Team Unity, an idea whose time had come, an idea that had been living in the hearts and the minds of the ordinary people of St. Kitts and Nevis, who spoke on radio long before we, the politicians, were brave enough to speak Team Unity. Captive, as it were, in our own partisan camp, the people were well ahead of us. And I recall at one of our brainstorming meeting in 4th Street, in the offices of Byron and Byron, without Vincent's older brother, Juicy was there, and Vance was there, and Jean was there. In fact, it was a public holiday. And you wondered aloud, why were we in that office on that particular day thinking through how Team Unity could function for the betterment of the people? I wondered for myself how Vance, an avid cricketer, would have left his wife at Warner Park, it was, I still remember, and had come to the office Easter Monday to go through a Team Unity document. And after the general discussions, we were going through it line by line, and Vance was meticulous in taking copious notes. There was something refreshing about the idea of a team. There was something refreshing about the idea of patriotism. There was something refreshing about we can work together. There was something novel and exciting that we could put aside the partisan divide of our party membership, be they PLP, PAM, CCM, to come together under a broader, more unifying concept of a team unity to work for the betterment of St. Kitts and Nevis as a country and as a people. And when the honorable member for number 5 spoke about the long history, some 30 years or thereabout, of the inadequacy of the physical infrastructure in which our officers of law enforcement work, and what had transpired before then, I recognize indeed this is part of the promise of what team unity was about. Because working together with an undying love for country, with a focus on the aspirations of the people, with a focus on putting St. Kitts and Nevis forward, so much more can be achieved. And over the last 7 years, we can say in many areas of life in St. Kitts and Nevis, because of team unity, we have done so much more than was done before us. You, the people, deserve a hand of commendation. So today we can come because we are a team. Focus on the agenda of law and order. Focus on the people's security and insecurity to deliver such a beautiful edifice. But more than that, 4 important services, all interlinked in a single space. We have created a home for 4 units, separately in one aspect of their work, but all interlinked, because when the acting fire chief follows through on an investigation of the fire, and there is, what you call it? Arson. That's a good word. Who got it? Some member from the audience. The people. The AG came close. Suspicious activity related to. It then goes to the police to assist in conducting the investigation. And when the contrabands come into our country, it becomes a joint collaboration between the Customs and Excise Department and our police. And then when they would have done their work at a satisfactory level, it's either a police will be doing the prosecution in the court, or the DPP and one of his lawyers. But it is to the court ultimately. All 3 will go in search of justice. And the accused also will have his or her day in the court, seeking for his justice. There is something more than symbolic about what we have done in creating one home for 4, and what we did in creating one home under the umbrella of team unity for 3 political parties. And I recall always we said, we will create history, an exciting history, history of wonderful things. Today, one such output of that history of wonderful things is what we have delivered to the people of Sandy Point and the people of District B after 30 years of waiting. Put your hands together for your team unity government. When we are working together as a team, so much more will be delivered than when we are working alone. We heard from Tushi in our overview of the project. Teamwork, architects, engineers, planners, and then we go on to Anthony Ramskeet as the contractor. Teamwork, and even while he was doing the job, The project managers will come from Public Works to ensure he's going in accordance with the design, and if there is departure, there's a plausible explanation for the departure. And Mr. Brandy should have come quite often, and the representative, out of his keen interest, would have come to see all were going well. It was a team effort. It was almost a microcosm of what became in vogue as we fought the pandemic and all of society approached. All of us had something to do to make it better. And so I am happy to have come, because today's ceremony validates the strength, the commitment, the delivery of the Team Unity administration, and that all are benefiting from the policies of our Team Unity government. I am happy to have come to recognize that we could deliver 4 entities in a single space, physical space, at a cost of $2.2 million. Let's give all who have been involved a special hand of applause. I gather that Mr. Brandy may be so charged for adding barracks after the design had been completed. And in order to justify it on hindsight, he said, Mr. Prime Minister, it's a good thing I did it, you know, because you see now COVID come, we can't get everybody in one spot as it was before. So give Mr. Brandy a round of applause for foresight. And at the top wall, I gather, more convenience for the officers. We thank you for that contribution, Mr. Brandy, as we thank all who will be working here and are working here for the quality of the work they will pursue. Over the last couple of days, I think the AG has had a high. Not from smoking, but hopefully he doesn't do that. But a high from seeing again deliverables. Team Unity again delivering. This week, and perhaps last week, has been his signal hour. We renamed the annex at the courthouse last Thursday, the Sir S.W. Tapley Seaton Judicial and Legal Services Building at the Sir Limor Judicial and Legal Complex. And again this morning, the AG went on to bat again and to deliver, as it were, the commissioning of the land registry. And I know he's very pleased of this delivery. Give him a special round of applause. And he reminded me, in his attempt to please the people and to prove them wrong regarding the length of his speeches, well known to be extremely long, in his effort to be extremely brief, he forgot to mention one of the things that is very special to him, the delivery at long last of the night court. Let's give him a round of applause. Right here in Little St. Kitts and Nevis, on a regular basis, we are delivering justice to the people, not just in the day, but in the night. So you have your issues with the traffic department, can't make it in the day, your case could be called in the night. We hope none of you are in this, but you have dispute over the child support payment, you can't make it in the day, we will deliver justice to you in the night. And we hope that the magistrate will ask you to pay a little extra for bringing the mother to court in the night. So please support your children. Please support them, because it is critically important that we protect the children from these kinds of development that could have scar and their perception of themselves and their worth to their father and to their mother. So we are happy by these important developments which will improve the quality of life for all of our people. Sometimes we take these things for granted, and other countries look on covetously at what is happening here and marvel at how we are able to deliver such good things. I want to acknowledge that Division B is one of the 3 divisions in St. Kitts and Nevis. Nevis at large is Division C. And Division B, I'm advised, should cover all communities in the northeast, from Lodge Village or Lodge Gut, coming all the way back to St. Paul's and Sandy Point, and ending at West Farm. So it is one of the largest districts for policing, and we are therefore fortunate today that the new facilities that will be made available will assist this unit in a better environment in which law enforcement can pursue their work. I understand that we will have here a CID unit, an anti-gang unit, and several other specialist support units working in this area. Of course, in Division B, we already have the state-of-the-art modern forensic lab located at the Tabernacle Police Station. So we are expecting really a lot of good things to come out of Division B. Last time I spoke with Assistant Commissioner of Police Adams, who is in charge of operations, and I asked how things were in Division B. He said things are looking up again, and things are getting better. In Division B, we have 2 important policing initiatives that are at work. The Alternative Lifestyle Pathway Project, commonly referred as the Peace Initiative, and the analysis, which shall be presented later to the Cabinet, would show that as a result of that, we are seeing a significant reduction of major crimes, including homicides, in Division B. Equally important has been our build-out of the Explorers Club, targeting our young people. And in Division B, incidentally, or strategically, we have 7 of the 13 Explorers Club formed to date residing here in the communities. The latest one being in Sandy Point, and we heard the young people earlier doing their selection. The newest club in Sandy Point has over 200 members. Give them a special round of applause. So we are trying, as it were, to dismantle the circle. I tried to explain it in my budget presentation, that we have the adults who, according to research, were reaching into our schools, influencing our children to carry their arms, to carry their drugs, and to pursue illicit activities. If we did not intervene, we would be having a different conversation today. So we intervened dramatically, and today the Explorers Club has the largest number of young people in structured program of any other national group, be they of a secular nature or within the church. We have the largest 1,400 young people registered as members of our Explorers Club. That deserve a special hand of applause. They are under the tutelage, the supervision of law enforcement officers, selected because of their passion for young people, passion to end crime, passion to end abuse. And we want to encourage them to do more. And while we, as it were, cutting off the flow, the natural flow of young people leaving our schools educated but as hardened persons with antisocial tendencies, we have also begun a program to see if we can reverse the mindset of those of the adults who are championing criminal activities. These are significant changes, some novel to us, but are well tested in other areas. Indeed, I was heartened to hear that several months back, Mr. Brandy went off to Barbados with others of his senior command. It was to speak to law enforcement and diplomatic officials resident in Barbados about the success of our interventions in criminal activity, disrupting them and bringing St. Kitts and Nevis from a high, the murder capital of the world, to a place where we have significant reduction. Significant reduction. We brought homicides from an all-time high of about 35 in 2011 to its lowest dip of 7 in what year, Mr. Brandy? Huh? What year? You got to remove your mask. In 2020, give Mr. Brandy and his high command and all the officers a special round of applause. And we continue to challenge them to get crimes and get in particular the most barbaric of crimes, homicides, to near zero. To near zero. This is critically important that we do not take our eyes off the ball. I could have well said zero. I said near zero. Because I appreciate in a secular world, we will always have crime. Some will be barbaric and some will be misdemeanors. It is not an ideal world. So the closer we get to zero, the more praises to our communities, which means more people are doing the right thing, and more kudos to our security forces. In closing then, I want to say thank you for the high level of collaboration which would have taken place between the Office of the Attorney General, the Ministry of Finance, the Ministry of National Security, of course, to ensure that today's event could happen in a smooth way and that the collaborative efforts would redound to the benefit of the people of St. Kitts and Nevis and to those in Division B. May God continue to bless our country. May God continue to protect our people. And may the God of mercy and love continue to thrive in every heart so that our people could always realize their full potential of being model citizens, not just of St. Kitts and Nevis, but of the world. That is the dream of a team unity administration, and that must be the aspiration of our people. To God we give the glory for all good that has happened here. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Prime Minister. Indeed, we have seen where, having heard from the Honorable Attorney General, the Honorable Deputy Prime Minister, and the Honorable Prime Minister himself, I will go back to something I said earlier. Planning and executing an activity is very rewarding and exciting. And we have heard what the Honorable Deputy Prime Minister said. He's been advocating for so many years. And he already said, pride and feel good. And the people of Sandy Point should feel good that we have seen that. And then we realized that we had the involvement of money, time, and perseverance, and a competent workforce. And we had our Prime Minister said how much it cost to build this wonderful building. And we know that Mr. Skeet and his team, they were competent indeed, so that we can admire this beautiful building in which the four entities, separate indeed in terms of role and responsibilities, but joined in one mission to see law and order in St. Kitts and Nevis maintain and continue to be sustained as we engage the mind of our youth and our adults, Mr. Prime Minister, change them from the path that will definitely indeed cause our country to suffer certain things in terms of finance, because once tourists do not come, indeed that foreign currency will not be gained as we would expect it to be. We have seen where inroads have been made with the young people you spoke of, so many expo clubs, and they're right here in Division B. Inspector Dickinson, Sergeant Liebert, Sergeant Jacobs, Sergeant Maguire, and Sergeant James. We have work to do in continuing in reaching the minds of our youth. Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of the program, and we have the vote of thanks. But before the vote of thanks, just a few instructions. After the vote of thanks, we'll have the commissioning of the building. Then we have the cutting of the ribbon, blessing of the building, a tour of the complex, and some refreshments. I will say, Mr. Commissioner, I am asking you in terms of the going towards the commission of the building, you lead the way. Oh, the contractor. Contractor. Both of you pointing at each other. However, that's why we are here as a team. So jointly it will be done. It gives me great pleasure to invite our person who's going to give the vote of thanks, Customs Officer Grade 4, Ms. Kishma Griffin, to come to the podium and give the vote of thanks. Prime Minister.
Good afternoon, all. Allow me to adopt the protocol previously established. I wish to observe that the grand and significant opening event, such as what we have just witnessed this afternoon, is not without the vision, dedication, and expertise of a team of key players. Firstly, I wish to express praise and thanks to God for His mercies and protection. It is my privilege to express appreciation to the makers and shapers of this significant opening ceremony. Let the record reflect our deepest gratitude to our chairperson, Superintendent of Police, Lyndon David, who kept the audience captivated throughout the entire ceremony. To Pastor Conrad Cumberbatch, Force Chaplain, we express heartfelt thank you for invoking God's blessings on the ceremony and reminding us the true meaning of this season. For bravely and skillfully echoing our national anthem in song, we extend thanks to Edward Williams. Job well done. Equally grateful are we to Romel Williams for his instrumental rendition, which was soothing to both our ears and mind. To Commissioner of Police Hilroy Brandy, we say thank you for warmly welcoming all in attendance and giving a synopsis of the purpose of this facility. Special thanks is extended to Ms. Jocelyn Toshi Davis for giving insight to the process of constructing such a magnificent structure. To our Fire Chief, Mr. Garfield Hodge, we express gratitude for your brief statements in giving a brief history of the significance of the fire station at Sandy Point. To Mr. Desroy Daniel, thank you for an overview of the Customs and Excise Department's role and importance at the Sandy Point area. Special thanks is extended to Honorable Vincent Bryan Jr., our Attorney General, for his brief remarks. Chief Immigration Officer Mercelyn Hughes, for reminding us of the faithfulness of God in song. It was well received, especially during this pandemic period. To the young minds, Inami and Salmani Woods Supersod, for reminding us grown-ups to keep smiling, and that the biblical quote is still applicable today, that a little child shall lead them. It was absolutely beautiful, thank you. Our gratitude continues for the remarks given by Honorable Sean Richards. He would have given a historical presentation of how the inefficiencies and inadequacies of the law enforcement facilities of Sandy Point, and today we share their joy and excitement. Thank you. To our Prime Minister, Dr. the Honorable Timothy Harris, we express thanks for your featured address, reminding us the importance of the three agencies that will be housed in this national security and judicial complex, along with the Magistrates Court. We say thanks to the crafters of whatever decadent refreshments that await us. We can't wait to eat. It would be remiss of me not to thank you, the invited guests, for being here, for taking time from your busy schedule and preparing for the busy season to join us in this celebration today. For this, we say thank you for being here and being quiet and attentive. Good afternoon, Merry Christmas, have a prosperous New Year, and continue to follow the protocols and stay safe. Thank you.
At this time, we will have the table led by the Honorable Prime Minister, who will meet our engineer and Commissioner Brandy on this side, and who will lead them to the building to do the closing activities. So, Honorable Prime Minister, Deputy Prime Minister, Attorney General. I will ask that let the Commissioner, let the ministers proceed first to the building, and then afterwards we can have a good tour. Prime Minister.